All right, folks, hit the download button on the Technology Geek podcast, the #1 tech show on the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. And this is going to be our 85th show. I can't believe we've already done 85 shows. That's pretty intense. So if you're looking at me, if you're watching the live stream, which you can find at our site, thetechnologygeek.org, and click on the Watch Live link, and you can get the live stream, you'll notice that not only are we streaming video right now, but we are also, not much, but you notice behind me, you'll see that it's a different layout than what we used to have. So we actually went ahead and actually got ourselves a studio space we have here now. So we're actually really excited about it. So we are currently leasing this space right now. Now, there's some things that you're going to notice about the new studio. First of all, you're going to notice that as I check our levels, because I don't have somebody at the board right now, one thing you're going to notice about the new studio behind me, there is some things we want to do here. Right now you're looking at the kind of the purple background behind me. That's going to actually probably change over time. We're looking at messing around with getting green screen and stuff like that. Also too, we're also working on some different lighting and maybe some camera adjustments. So this is our first live show from here actually. This is our first official one anyway. But yes, this is actually going to be the live stream, and we're going to be live every Friday night. So this is really cool. Really excited about this, though. We're excited to have our own studio. Here we actually have, like I said, this is actually like our little studio area here. We're doing recording and stuff of that. Like I said, we're going to work on some different camera angles and stuff like that. We just moved into the space last week, so we're just kind of getting set up, but we just wanted to kind of start getting shows streaming from here. Behind this wall is actually some office space and some other space that we are actually using for my business as well. So we're not just doing the studio stuff here. We also have other people that are going to be using this space as well as us. We do have some other shows. I don't want to get too much into the other shows where they're going to be recorded here because they haven't officially said they're going to, and one that has doesn't wants to kind of keep it kind of quiet where he's actually recording. So we do have some people that are going to rent the space besides us, so that's pretty cool. Like I said, we do have the studio space, and then we do have some office space and stuff like that for my business here. So it's not just for this, but it's also for other things as well that we have going on at the studio. So that's pretty neat. So we actually have our own studio. We're really excited about it now. So this will be our first show live from the studio on August 26th, which is today, which is also, by the way, for those of you that don't know, our friend Howard that's usually on the show. You've all seen him a couple times. He is actually our Star Trek fan, our telco guy that comes on here. Today is actually his 39th birthday. So next year is going to be the big 40 for him. So, so he couldn't get him on the show tonight. We're going to have some people on, guests for the show. We do have some SIP lines coming in. For those of you who don't know, those are going to be call-in lines. We're going to have those put in. Those weren't installed just yet. We had our internet brought in. We got a pretty high-end internet for the studio now. So we're really excited to actually have our own studio space. And like I said, folks, I don't want to get anybody the wrong impression. Like I said, the studio space isn't just for this show. Like I said, we're also going to be using the studio space for other things that we have going on and stuff like that. So this is just we're allowed to we can use it for our show, obviously, because it's my space. But we're also going to have other stuff coming out here as well. We have some people that are going to be doing some YouTube things for their websites, and we do have some other people that are looking to use. We actually have almost like a full kitchen here, so we actually have some people that are actually looking into as well using the space to do some cooking shows, so that on some YouTube channels and things of that nature. Some people have actually talked about doing infomercials here in the studio space. So it's more than just us. Like I said, it's my space. We've actually leased it, but it's going to be used for a lot more than that, just our show. But we are talking about doing maybe some more shows. One or two of the people that actually work with me, they're actually looking forward to they want to do their own podcast and stuff like that. So we may actually have more shows coming to you on the network. But again, baby steps. You're getting my show right now, The Technology Geek, the #1 Votech show on the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. And over to those guys over Randy and Jesse over at Grolix. Those guys, have been talking to them on and off. Randy and I were talking about live streaming the other day because I told him we were going to be doing live video for the new studio. And he was pretty excited about it too. And we were talking for like a couple days. We were talking about what kind of what we could use for live streaming, what YouTube, Ustream, live stream. That's one thing I didn't. One thing that's weird is now that I'm on camera, is going this way is actually that way on camera because it's a mirror image, just a little different. But one of the things him and I were talking about the other day when I was talking to him, we were talking about live stream. Do you go Ustream? Do you go live stream? Do you do this? Do you do that? There's so many options nowadays for live streaming. And it's pretty crazy how everything has changed. You have the visual element and all that kind of stuff. So, it's really exciting. I'm really cool about it. We're really excited. I've always wanted my own studio. We've been talking about it for my other business, getting some new office space, getting some studio space, and for some of the content creation stuff that we do. But it's finally came to fruition. So we're all really excited about it. It was a big 2 weeks for us moving everything in. Apparently, as part of moving in here, I was just told by my staff that apparently we have a desk chair shortage. So I'm currently working on ordering a bunch of desk chairs, and I'm not sure why we had why we had enough chairs before at the other place that we were at, but apparently, we now have an office chair shortage. So we're working on that right now. I'm not exactly sure how the office chair shortage happened. I'm kind of curious as to how we had enough chairs all those years, and now all of a sudden we're short. So, interesting stuff. A lot of interesting stuff going on here. Like I said, I want to work at the camera angles. That's really, I would like to maybe adjust the cameras if we could, or something like that eventually. Something I'm thinking about getting maybe some different cameras too. We'll see what happens. A lot of things to talk about. So we are going to have a poll up on Twitter, by the way. Probably, and maybe on our website as well. We are still talking about names for the studio, since this is going to be legit studio space for people that want to use it. Us, bands, like I said, some of the other shows that want to do shows out of here. So we are talking about possibly a name for the studio, but we've been kicking around some names. And I'm thinking about putting a poll up on Twitter. After we get this all taken care of, this show up and going, I'm thinking about, like I said, possibly putting a poll up. We need a good studio name. There have been a lot of talks, different names we could use for the studio. Somebody wanted to call it Tech Geek Studios. I was thinking about that as well. We were talking about maybe Brandon LePanny Studios, but I don't really want to do that. I don't like to name things after me. I think it sounds kind of corny. So there's a lot of things we could do here, but with the naming. So we're going to work on that too. We're going to get a poll out for that as well. So we are slowly working on that. A lot of stuff in the news we're going to talk about. Stuff we're going to get to that. But a couple things I did want to talk about. So like I said, we have been really hectic with the new studio. So I'm not going to lie. I haven't been up on the news, on the tech news as much as I would like this week. But there is, like I said, a lot of it. A lot of news in general going on, and I think that's going to be the general gist of the news right now. Just with elections and stuff like that going on, I tend to think that there is going to be a lot more news now than there's been before in the past. I think it's just the way it is right now. With anytime there's elections, there's always a lot of news going on. I think that's going to be the case that we're going to have to deal with for a while here, is that there's going to be just a ton of news for us to deal with. Tons of content and stuff like that that's going to be thrown at us about Hillary, Trump, and everybody else in between there. At least until we get into later in the after November. I think things will calm down. But for right now, we are going to be getting quite a bit of news on the news front. And speaking of news, by the way, folks, since I did always read, I did read The Art of Ted by Ted Turner, which is the guy that started CNN, Turner Broadcasting, stuff like that. Kind of interesting. He actually prides himself on having CNN, or he did, and when he owned it, prided himself on CNN being the middle of the road, reporting on both, Democrat and Republican. So he really took great pride in, in making sure that, CNN delivered both sides. Obviously, a lot of news stations, very liberal. A lot of regular cable channels are very liberal. So, but CNN really prided themselves on that, and good for Ted Turner, man. That's really neat to, he took great pride in that. That was I really enjoyed. He did a lot, like I said, with the Turner Network, TBS, all that stuff. He was really heavily involved with that. And obviously he sold his company out, but he still keeps very active. He has like a bunch of chain of restaurants now and stuff like that. I was just reading about all that. I was like, that's pretty. Apparently he raises like his own cattle, and then like he's got slaughterhouses and stuff like that, and then he slaughters the stuff and puts it in his restaurant. He raises cattle. He saves cattle that's been abused of that. He takes it in and raises it and all that. So he is very active in the, in the whole. In the whole cattle farm ranch thing. So it's pretty intense. And if you remember too, he's also the guy that donated $1 billion to the United Nations. So he's, like I said, very active and a very big yacht guy. Really enjoys his boating. So he would, like I said, he was in the news, like I said, not recently, but when they were talking about the news channels, talk about CNN. That's they're pretty, they're supposed to be middle of the road, but from what I've read and from what I've talked about, a lot of people are actually saying that, CNN not as middle of the road as it used to be. And they're owned by Time Warner now and stuff like that, but they're saying that they're not as middle of the road as they used to be. But that's what, that's everybody else's opinion. I don't really watch a lot of cable news anymore. I really stopped watching cable news recently. I'll watch stuff on the internet and stuff like that, but I don't really watch a lot of cable news anymore. I think that's a general gist of most people out there in the world nowadays. They don't. A lot of people don't watch cable news anymore. Especially I was just down in Wildwood a couple weeks ago on vacation. With my family, and you go down there, and especially down there, there's especially in Wildwood, down there's a lot of mom and pop shops. You don't get many big chain stores, you don't get many big chain restaurants. Down there, still very mom and pop run, which is a lot really cool. A lot of the hotels are still family owned and operated for decades and decades. But when you go down there, especially, you get a lot of Republican. I noticed I was walking around with a Trump shirt on when I was down there. You get a lot of Republicans down there, but you come up to Pennsylvania, and it's a lot more Democratic state. It's amazing what a 4-hour trip can do. I was down there, a lot of Trump signs, a lot of anti-Hillary stuff on the boardwalk and stuff like that. But then you come up here to Pennsylvania, and you get the opposite. So it's really neat how different states are really aimed towards different candidates and different parties and all that. So it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed, being down there and, and the beach and all that. But it was really neat to see all the people walking around with Trump shirts on. So that you don't get much of that up here in Pennsylvania. So speaking of my vacation, like I said, we were away not this past week, the week before that. That's why the show wasn't live, which we've been doing live audio for a while. But now it's a studio. We're going to be able to do live video. But like I said, I went away, and it's interesting. While I was down there, I didn't realize that when you go down to Wildwood, the amount of bike riding down there is. Like I said, I'm up here in the mountains. We do get a lot of mountain bikers, a lot of people on the side of the road, but down there, especially down towards the Wildwood area, you really get a lot of people on bikes. That's kind of like almost a mode of transportation down there. Bike lanes and all that stuff. And I noticed while I was down there, I'm like, wow, this is pretty nuts. There's a ton of people down here riding bikes. There's tons and tons of places to rent bikes. But one of the things I noticed while I was down there was that you can't just like up here you get a lot of mountain bikes and stuff like that. Down there you get a lot of what they call gliders, and what those are bikes with they don't have shocks on them or anything like that, like we would have here in the mountains for mountain biking. Down there, almost everything is these glider bikes, and that's just the way they do things down there. A lot of people they, like I said, they don't need shocks on bikes. Everything's flat down there. Everything's pretty much blacktop or pavement, so there's no need for shocks. It was so funny because I was down there, I had my mountain bike with me because that's what I ride when I'm up here. And it was so funny. I was down there, and all of a sudden, people were like, "Oh, you're not from around here, are you? Oh, how do you know?" Well, you're using a mountain bike. Nobody has a mountain bike around here. Everybody has cruisers. I saw a lot of those Billy Customs. I was surprised. We all remember seeing Billy Customs on Shark Tank. But what was interesting when I was down there is how many people down there actually had Billy Custom bikes from Shark Tank. I was like, wow, I remember they had an update on him saying, oh, how much money he was making, him, Mark, and Barbara. But when I was down the shore, I mean, it really is a big thing down the shore to, with this Billy Custom bike thing. I saw a little bike with a little dog on it, and I was surprised to see how many people had those Billy Custom bikes. And they're not cheap. They're a couple $100 a pop, most of them. I was amazed to see how many people, really had them. Now, I know a lot now for me, my mountain bike, I'm not very high end, like $100 for the bike, but a lot of people down there take their biking very, very seriously, and a lot of them have no problem dropping $200-$300 on a bike. I won't, but a lot of people will. So that was a lot of fun being down there. One of the things too, while I was down on vacation, I didn't know this. When you go on the boardwalk, you can only ride your bike till about 11 o'clock. And then, they say no more bikes and all that for the rest of the day. But down there, let me tell you, I went down, I bicycled the boardwalk, every day we were down there, down and back. It's about 4.5-5 miles. Trying to get more exercise, more general exercise. I'm bicycling, doing a lot more physical activity. I'm doing a rower machine I have at my house. I'm trying my best to get more exercise. I've been told that I really need to get more exercise. So I've been really working hard on trying to get more general exercise, bicycling and, like I said, doing rowing machine, trying to diet. Diet's a big part. Sometimes one thing, it's not always how much you're exercising, it's what you eat too. But one of the things down there, when I was on the boardwalk down there, man, I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of bikes that are on the boardwalk in the morning. I mean, it is literally it's literally like a freeway, the amount of bikes. How many people are there? I mean, it's no joke. In the morning before 11, I mean, I would say probably 90% of the people on the boardwalk are actually bikers. That's not an exaggeration either. Also, too, while I was down there, I actually had to kind of help my wife control herself. There was actually a tattoo convention on the boardwalk at the Wildwood Convention Center down there. My wife was itching for another tattoo, but I'm like, honey, we're on vacation. We spent enough money to, being down here for a week. That's not going to happen. So we ended up, she ended up not getting a tattoo. I kind of talked her out of it. I talked her off the ledge, but, she wanted to get another tattoo while we were there. And I'm like, no, honey, no. So she didn't get another tattoo, but there's a lot going on down there. I have not been down to Wildwood in about 15 years. So it was really cool to get down there, kind of get away a couple of days. We don't really go on a lot of vacations. This year we're going on 2, went to Wildwood, and then obviously we're going away to Disney in October. But we generally do not get away very often at all. So it was fun to kind of get away and, see the ocean. We haven't been in the ocean. We went in the ocean for a little bit, half a day. While we were down there, it was hot, man. It was like 100 degrees down there. We were all dying. But it was a lot of fun. We all got away. We all had a good time, and that was the main reason. That's why you go away on vacation. And while I was down there, one of the things that my wife and I looked at, we were down there, because I always like to pick up the local real estate books and check them out. I like to see what's around there, what's for sale, how's the area doing. You can always tell how the area is doing by the amount of real estate and the prices and all that. And one of the things I noticed was a very, very cheap condo down there. So I said to my wife, well, let's look. If it's nice, we'll buy it, have a little place down the shore. And we went down and we were taking a look, and it was so funny. The condo we actually looked at, I said to the lady, oh, it's really reasonable. It's really cheap, very, very cheap. And I'm like, what's wrong with that? And she's like, well, it's only 320 square feet. Now, folks, just to give you a little example, okay, the studio space that we're here is like 650 between the studio and the office space. It's actually a little more, when you calculate the garage area and stuff like that. But Yeah, folks. So, just to give you so literally, like if we actually, it would be like a little bigger than this little studio space we're in now. 350 feet is nothing. That includes your bathroom, kitchen, and all that good stuff. So yeah, that was. We decided not to go with the condo. So next time we go down, we'll just get another hotel. But we were actually thinking about getting a little place down there because we loved it so much. Like I said, we haven't been down there in a while, but we really, really enjoyed being down there, and we really enjoyed our vacation. So some of the things, by the way, that was going, I want to talk about too. So apparently, and I have been talking about this on this show for how long has it been? Probably a couple of years. You cannot find Spawn. You could not find Spawn on HBO ever. Well, the boys over at Grolix Podcast, our friends over at the Electronic Media Collective, Grolix Podcast, they actually informed me the other day that Spawn actually has come to HBO now. So those of you that have HBO Go and HBO Now can now go ahead and enjoy Spawn on HBO from the 90s. Now, folks, I'm not going to lie. If you have kids, it's not a kid's cartoon. It's not like The Avengers. It's not like anything you're going to find on FX or on Disney Network. It is pretty adult. And that's why it's on HBO. So I strongly recommend if you have kids, you preview watch it before you let them watch it. Because it is pretty adultish and it is pretty darn raunchy. But they did a voiceover, a commentary over the other day. And it was really good. I really liked it. What they do is they'll tell you, okay, your show, you're going to hit, start now. And you actually hit start and they will actually, do commentary over the show as you're watching it. So pretty cool. I really liked it. I watched it. I'm actually going to watch a couple more of them. They're actually, the movies, the shows themselves are only like half-hour episodes. So I think there's 13 episodes. You can probably bang that out probably in a weekend. It's not a lot of content. When you think about it, it's only 13 episodes and they're like half-hour a piece. So that's only a couple hours. You can probably watch 3 seasons at a time. Take you watch the whole House of Cards. But that's one of the things. And, a lot of people, one of the things I laughed about because I've been saying for years now, like, they gotta... they really got to do something. They got to do something. They got to get Spawn on HBO. They got to get Spawn. We have never had Spawn on HBO. I've been upset about that forever. And now, lo and behold, guess what? We have Spawn on HBO now. So see, people listen to this show. So it just shows you. I talked about Amazon splitting off Amazon Prime with splitting off Amazon Prime and having the video only. And people are like, oh, Amazon's never going to do it. Amazon's never going to do it. A couple months after I said it on the show, they announced it. So people listen to the show. I bet you Jeff Benzo from Amazon is listening right now. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Excited about that. Some other things too, as I was watching HBO the other day, because we do have HBO. That's one of the premium channels I do like, is they have a lot of good shows. One of the things I think that's really interesting, obviously Jon Stewart coming back, and he's going to HBO. Jon Stewart, as you guys all remember from The Daily Show. The Daily Show's been taken over since then by somebody else, but I don't think it's nowhere near as good as it used to be. I really don't even watch it anymore now that Stewart left. But apparently Jon Stewart is going to be on HBO. He's going to be doing the Jon Stewart Show on there, along with his buddy Bill Maher and a lot of those other guys. So it's going to be pretty fun. I can't wait to see when Jon Stewart's actually show is supposed to be starting up. I believe in a month, or I believe next month, or the month after. It's supposed to be starting, I think September, mid-September, maybe early October. So I'm actually really excited about that. Walking Dead coming back. A lot of people are really excited about that. I know my wife is. A lot of people are really excited about The Walking Dead making a comeback. One of the things I was laughing about the other day, and nothing against, hey, if it's an easy gig, it's an easy gig, but one of the things I was laughing about is I was watching Red Eye the other night, and I guess Anthony Cumia is on there a lot. Gavin McInnes is on there a lot. I really like those guys a lot. They do a good show. They do have a cool network. But what's funny, the other day I was watching Red Eye, and I'm thinking to myself, like, how easy is Greg Gutfeld? I mean, I think it's Greg Gutfeld now is the guy that runs it. Like, you work 2 nights a week. That's about it. Now, obviously, there's a lot of other stuff going on, but I just thought it was funny. Imagine if you just did that gig. You're only going to work, like 2 nights a week? I always said that. I thought that'd be a really cool gig. I wouldn't mind working just 2 nights a week, But I thought that was a lot of fun. So some of the things I do want to talk about as far as tech goes, kind of looking down at my notes here. One of the things is now that I have the anniversary update on my Surface, a couple of things. First of all, apparently the anniversary update for Microsoft actually broke quite a bit of things. For those of you who have Windows 10, the anniversary update, like I said, came out. And what it did is apparently the code, and they had problems on this on the Twit network and a couple other television networks that I've actually, that I know of, tech networks and stuff like that. What Microsoft did to actually get Skype to work, they disabled one of the codecs. So like a huge majority of machines with Skype wouldn't work because the codec was disabled. Now, they said that Microsoft said they did this to fix Skype until they could get it fixed. It just seems like just bad. It was just a bad decision by Microsoft. I just can't imagine, like, why would you do that? Go ahead and say, oh, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to disable one of our key, one of our key components to our Skype, but the codec. Now, they didn't do it to all. They only did it to, I guess, Logitech, which Logitech is a pretty big camera manufacturer. Most cameras and most laptops and stuff like that are Logitech. And what I think is funny about that, like that just seems like something like, oh, okay, well, we got to fix this quickly. Let's disable the Logic camera. Boom. Like, okay, well, whose idea was like, okay, the bug fix is 0. Let's push out the update. Like, it just seems like such poor. Somebody at Microsoft really wasn't thinking, because that was just a very, very poor decision to make. To actually go ahead and disable that, because that's a major thing for, I mean, that's huge almost. So I was kind of surprised that actually happened. But apparently Microsoft did fix it. But obviously Bash on Windows now, obviously that was, we talked about that the other week. But now apparently Microsoft's saying that they're going to go ahead and they're going to open source. Yes, you heard me right. I said they're going to open source PowerShell. And what they're going to do is they're going to open source PowerShell so that people on Linux and Mac can go ahead and run PowerShell. Now, people are saying, well, why are they doing this? Well, there's a very good reason why Microsoft's actually doing this, because what's happening is Microsoft's realizing that a lot of people, and I mean this, a lot of people are actually administering Microsoft stuff from Macs and also through Linux. So, a lot of people just have, they don't realize that that's a big thing for Microsoft. Microsoft has to realize they're not, yes, they are the giant, but they're not Mac. There are a lot of Macs in offices now. There's a lot of Linux in offices now. Maybe not as much Linux, but that's a big deal. Microsoft knows they have to do something, and they want to compete with, Mac has made some of their software for iOS open source. So I know Microsoft is, they have to compete. Swift, is open source now. Linux has always been open source. So Microsoft realized they're going to have to get into the open source world, if they want to go ahead and be competitive, which is what they have to do. So like I said, they're going ahead and they're making some of their software open source. Now I'm sure, whoever is, whoever's looking over their software is going to look over and say, okay, guys, this is patented. We might not want to release this out. I'm sure they're going to cleanse out all the commenting, because as soon as that gets released out to the public, people are going to go through it with combs looking for security holes. They're going to go through it looking for all different kinds of stuff. So Microsoft is going to go ahead and cleanse and make sure everything is okay, before they release it out. So I'm sure they have a team of people that can go through and cleanse that whole thing, but. So that actually is something that that Microsoft has going on right now. And, I can see, I can see Microsoft spending quite a bit of time cleansing that and making sure it's right and getting the comments out and all that. So there's a lot, phone's going off. So there's a lot going on with that. So, but yeah, that's actually pretty big news for Microsoft to actually go ahead and make something like that open source. That's huge news, because Microsoft, years ago, Microsoft was holding everything very close to the chest. And now all of a sudden they decided, well, we got to get out into the open source world. We got to be competitive. The same thing with Windows 10 and Office 365. And Microsoft realized that if they didn't adapt, they were going to be left in the dust by Google and Linux and Mac. So, adapt or die. But we all know the one thing that we were just talking about this the other day. A friend of mine said, whatever happened to Nokia? They still make phones? And I'm like, oh, unfortunately. That just shows you how bad Microsoft's PR is. They not only did they go ahead and really kind of like destroy, Nokia, well, most people don't even know about it. That's the thing. Microsoft is one of those companies that they just, their public relations has always been their biggest thorn in their side. They never, for some reason, even back in the day, could never, ever, for some reason, get their PR right. There was always something going on or something happening, and Microsoft would just they wouldn't announce it right. It would make it look, it would just make Microsoft look bad. And this is going on for years, though. It's nothing new. And that's the thing that gets to me. Like, Microsoft has had so many opportunities over the years to go ahead and, and make themselves look good, and their PR department just doesn't do it right. They need to hire whoever works over at Apple's PR department, and because that Microsoft always does things and handles things in just ways that just make them look bad. They always have. So something else I thought that was I want to talk about. Talking about computers, talking about all that, but one of the things I thought that was interesting the other day is a friend of mine's son went ahead, and of course I thought my phone was silenced, and it wasn't, so I apologize for that. One of the things, my friend's son, he went ahead and I guess he's taking votech and all that, and he asked me what software he can use, because he really wants to get into building robots and that. What can he use? Now, for those of you that don't know, there is free software that you can sketch called Sketch-It, where you can sketch, robots, you can sketch all that kind of stuff. Not only robots, you can sketch anything you really want to sketch, and it's free. They have a free version, and it's also a paid version, but it comes on it's for your computer. And what you can actually do is you can actually go ahead and sketch stuff, and actually go ahead and if you want to, lay out circuit. They have what they call not widgets, but parts where you can actually go ahead and say, okay, I want to download a circuit board and a schematic. So put like the green board, and then you can go ahead and put where your transistors are, where your ohms, your resistors, transistors, all that stuff. You can draw the board out nicely and all that. And so there is something called Sketchpad that you can actually do all that with, and it is free and open source. Now, somebody could also go out and get a copy of Autodesk, which is CAD, but that's a pretty hefty layout for somebody. So Sketchpad's a little lighter. You don't need a brand new machine with a high-end computer for that. You don't really need a high-end machine. You can get something pretty low-end that'll run Sketchpad. So I recommended that to him. So if anybody out there looking to get into building or circuitry, or looking to get into drawing out anything like that, go ahead and like I said, look up Sketch-It. It's actually really, really good. See, my phone's going to say, that's the problem with live television, folks. You never know what's going to happen. I'm getting text messages now and phone calls while I'm live on the air. That's the only thing bad about doing live and not having a podcast, is you can't edit out the good stuff, but that's okay. It's our first live show. I thought I silenced my cell phone. I should have a thing play before for me, like when you go to the movies, silence all cell phones and all that, stuff. I should have one of them play for me. So I'm really glad, though, to see young kids getting into that. They're actually at the one school that I was at recently visiting. They actually have a Raspberry Pi club. Kids that are into programming and Raspberry Piing and designing and all that fun stuff. And I'm really, really glad to see kids who get into that kind of stuff. We need young entrepreneurs, bright-minded, kids that can do this kind of stuff. And it's really great to see kids get excited about votech. My friend the other day said to me, hey, you're not going to believe he goes, my son's taking shop this year. I'm like, that's so awesome. We don't see enough kids getting into votech nowadays. And it's really great to see kids get excited about building stuff like that. Myself personally, I've had my own home shop for years where I'm like a mad scientist. I build stuff out of wood. I build, circuit boards, ham radio stuff, anything I can do. I hate to see, I pretty much have like a very much like a no video game policy at my house. My daughter's allowed to read. and she's allowed to watch a little TV, and that's about it. We don't have a gaming system, nothing. I like to see kids create. Creating things and thinking is what makes, is really, to me, more important than video games. I mean, yes, video games have hand-eye coordination, but in my opinion, I think you'll get more out of building something and designing something than you will actually, sitting there playing video games. So I'm so glad to see last year or two, they said, and I just read an article about this. I'm not sure where I read it. It might have been in Make It or Make It magazine or something like that, or Build It magazine. But they were saying that the amount of kids that are getting into shop, votech, and designing and programming has gone through the roof compared to what it was a couple years ago. So it's really great to see kids get involved with this stuff. Like I said, I'm a major nerd. I love to mess with electronics. I love to mess with ham radio. I love to build stuff. I've got my own home shop. I'm actually thinking about two folks. I've been talking about getting a YouTube channel or adding to the Technology Geek YouTube channel some of my project stuff I do at home to give you more video content along with the show. That's one of the things I've been thinking about doing. But, I've always had a home shop and all that, and it's always great to see kids really get involved with this stuff and to really build stuff and to really get involved. It's a lot of fun. And it's really, really cool. So some other stuff, folks, as well that I didn't want to talk about. We'll get the headlines in a minute. But one of the things that I thought was interesting, too, a friend of mine, another friend of mine, he was asking me the other day about 3D printing, and we were getting into CAD and 3D printing and getting really techie. And one of the things that we were talking about that his son has just recently gotten into, and I guess it's a big thing now, is building stuff out of cardboard. Now, I remember as a kid building stuff out of cardboard all the time. I love building stuff. I love Legos. The only game, like I said, video games that I do, like I said, I've talked about video games before. The only game I do like to play is, and do let my daughter play once in a while, is Minecraft, because they're building things, so I think it's really cool. But one of the things I think that's kind of interesting is, he's getting into building stuff out of cardboard, models and all that. And I'm like, that is so freaking cool that kids are getting into building stuff again. Whether it's cardboard, electronics, any of that, kids are building stuff again. And the thing that's neat about cardboard, it is one of the things cool about kids building stuff out of cardboard. Cardboard is available. It's cheap. It's free most of the time. All you need is cardboard, tape, Elmer's glue, and you can build all this kind of stuff out of cardboard. And it's so cool. And that's one of my opinion, one of the best building materials for young kids is cardboard. Because like I said, you have cardboard, you have Elmer's glue, tape, and those things can leave a kid busy for hours. Even crafts. If your kid maybe doesn't want to get into building things, but he wants to get into crafts. Okay, crafts are glue. All anything you can find, you can use. Hard pasta, beans, anything you can find around the house, you can use to do crafts. It's so much better for these kids than doing video games or watching television. So I think it's really cool to see kids building stuff and for kids to really get into all that again. I think it's really cool and it's a lot of fun. I'm really glad to see kids really getting back into that kind of thing. Something else I did want to talk about that's in my notes. The other day I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and he was faxing something via his copier that he has at his office. And we were laughing about it the other day. I remember I said, when I first started in the computer industry, I said, one of the things I remember very distinctly is actually the WinFax. I remember I was working for a company when I was at college, and what they would do, they sold you like $100. You get WinFax, you get they get the modem, you get the fax modem, which is basically just an internal modem you'd install, and somebody to install the software for you. And I remember in the telephone cord, and I remember installing this thing like it was going out of style. And now, the other day we were just joking. I said, whatever happened to WinFax? That was something we were joking about the other day. I have not seen WinFax in years. I don't think I probably ever will again because, now you can simply, fax and email stuff right from your computer. But I remember that was a big thing. WinFax was a big thing back in the day. And I wonder whatever happened to it. The same thing goes for phone books and pagers. Whatever happened today is we got a page. Oh, they're paging me. Not happening anymore. Nobody gets pages anymore. It just doesn't. That's the way it is. So, I do want to go into the tech headlines. Quite a few today. Not as many as I would have. There's a lot of tech headlines, but some of them were just really, they weren't tech geek worthy. Let's put it that way. Or they've been covered to death. That's the only thing about the internet. Sometimes you get a story, but if you get a good story, but if nobody picks it up, or you get a silly story that everybody picks up and it goes viral. It's just the way the internet is. But I do want to go ahead, folks, and talk about our sponsor for today's show, our friend over at the Hangout Comic Book Store. The Hangout Comic Book Store located at 2555, that's 2555, Route 6 in Holly, Pennsylvania. And one thing, folks, you go in there, he has some of the best comics out there, let me tell you. The place is clean, it's neat, everything's bagged and boarded, he knows where everything is, everything's labeled, marked. He has free comics in there too, by the way, folks. He's giving away some free comics, especially with this weekend. There's a big event coming up around here called the Wally Fest, and he's giving away some free comics. And I mean, you go in there, he's got everything. The other day I was just in there, and he had Spawn stuff. He had stuff from all this different stuff there. My daughter, we go there, we spend an hour there looking at all the different neat stuff he has, and it's just a great father-daughter time. If you have kids, it's great to see kids getting into comics again too. I'd rather see them reading than doing other things. But like I say, this place, you go in there, it's clean, it's neat, everything's organized. He always has a lot of good comics. He always has, he always knows where everything is. He's so organized. It's really a great place, guys. He encourages you to stay there and read. He encourages you to stay there and hang out. That's why it's called a hangout. He really is a great guy. And this week with the Wally Fest, this weekend going on, like I said, is the Wally Fest. And he's going to give you, my listeners, my viewers, a really great special, 20% off this weekend only. So go ahead and call 570-390-9232. Again, 570-390-9232. And he's going to give you 20% off with the mention of our show, The Technology Geek. So, folks, 20% off is a lot of money this weekend, folks. It's this weekend only. 20% off is a lot of cash, folks. Buy something for $10, that's $2 off. That's a lot of money. And that's because of the Wally Fest this weekend. There's a big thing up here in the lake called the Wally Fest. Again, 570-390-9232. Mention the Technology Geek podcast, and he will give you 20% off. And if you mention it any other day besides this weekend, you get 10% off. So this weekend you get an extra 10%, but any other time you get 10. So 20 this weekend, 10 after that. But it's really great. Again, 570-390-9232. And that's the Hangout on 2555 Route 6, the comic book store. Great guy. Go in there, talk to him, let him know I sent you. Great guy. Glad he's a sponsor on the show. Keeps the show on the air, live and free. And as always, folks, like I said, the show will be available in podcast format after via audio. Yeah, that's the thing, folks. Podcast isn't really podcast anymore because now you have video podcast, audio podcast. So podcasting isn't just podcasting anymore. So, but yeah, it'll be available in audio format. Somebody just sent me a message on Twitter here saying, it says the show is live. I missed the live show. Am I not going to be able to see it? No. The show will always be available in podcast format, in audio format. Always. Always, no matter how much live stuff we do. So, interesting news, folks. So, apparently, from what I have read and what I have heard, apparently Spotify is now actually burying tracks from musicians who give exclusives to Apple and other companies. So if you're going to do stuff with other companies, apparently you're going to get buried on Spotify. Spotify's had a big gripe with Apple. A couple weeks ago, we covered a story about Spotify being really annoyed with Apple. They're saying Apple was skewing their ratings on the iTunes store. So they were really annoyed about that. And, they kind of, I don't know. There seems to be a big rivalry going on between Spotify and Apple right now. So, there's a lot going on there, but, so apparently Spotify's saying that now. But a couple weeks ago, they're saying, they're skewing our app on Spotify. They're delaying our new app releases. They're this, they're that. I love Spotify. I've been a Spotify subscriber for a very, very long time. I mean, very long, since they first came into the U.S. But I've kind of get a little bit starting getting annoyed of them kind of bashing Apple. And I'm kind of getting sick of Apple, which Apple hadn't denied it. but they haven't confirmed it yet. So I'm kind of getting sick of this whole thing between the two of them. It's starting to remind me of the whole Microsoft Apple thing back in the 70s and 80s. Not that I was alive for it, but I heard about it and read about it. So I think that's pretty. I'm getting a little annoyed with hearing it. So BleachBit actually got a huge promotional thing from Hillary Clinton this week. Apparently, open source disk cleaning application BleachBit got quite an ad pitch from the world of politics after it revealed lawyers of the presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton used the software to wipe her email servers. Yes, as we all know, Hillary Clinton is in hot water, obviously for the whole email thing, and I remember her husband in the Monica Lewinsky scandal. But so apparently that open source software got a big hit, and good for them, man. That's really great to, an open source company like that getting a big thing like that from somebody like Hillary is going to do really wonders for them. So that's good for them, man. It's good to see that. So I know I've been talking about health and fitness and all that type of stuff. This is actually seltzer for those of you that can't see it. So it's actually seltzer. I'm trying to get less soda. But in my own cup, I had like 5 cups of coffee today. So this is kind of trying to balance it out. But yeah, seltzer, not soda. So Sprint, they're saying, is charging unlimited users $20 more for unthrottled video. So Sprint, like I said, they have new unlimited data plans for users. But apparently now, if you watch video in full HD, that's 1080p. Apparently, they have something called the Unlimited Freedom Premium Plan. It offers the same features as Unlimited Freedom Plan with the bonus allowing users to stream video in full HD, and it only costs $20 more. That's a funny thing, folks, too. It's the days of, they're saying everything I read on the internet says that, really messaging is the future. They're saying that too. Everything is going messaging. Everybody wants to do everything via Messenger. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Everything's gonna be, done with. I'm telling you, with Messenger. They're saying people don't want to talk on the phone anymore. People want to. Messaging is the hot thing. The WhatsApp. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. Snapchat. All that stuff. Everything's going through Google Voice. Everything's going through Google Voice now. Snapchat, all that. People don't want to talk on the phone. So people are burning more data. So now these companies have had to adapt or die. And people were dropping companies because they were getting rid of unlimited data. So now these companies are offering unlimited data. They're offering premium unlimited data plans. They're offering everything with unlimited data because they know people aren't talking on the phone. I'll tell you a prime example. I called my wife today. I used Facebook Messenger to call her because she didn't have cell phone reception where she was, but she had data. She had her Wi-Fi. So I mean, these companies know that, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. But like I said, it's now Sprint's doing it. I know Verizon, AT&T are going to start offering unlimited data again. It's the future. And the thing that's funny is they only throttle businesses and stuff and personal use. They don't throttle government entities. They don't throttle nonprofits. They don't throttle any of those people, and they always give them unlimited data no matter what. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, so that's that with Sprint. Amazon is testing a 30-hour, 75% salary work week. The reason why they're piloting these programs, because if they pay people to work 40 to 70 hours, they have to pay benefits, obviously. So if they cut people down to 30 hours, that's part-time. They don't have to give them health care. They don't have to give them benefit packages and all that. Now, they also don't have to give them as much pay either because obviously not working as many hours. But this is another problem that people are having because, guess what? They want to raise minimum wage. And if they raise minimum wage, it's good, businesses and small and large are going to have to compensate, and they're going to compensate by cutting back people's benefits. They're going to compensate by, cutting people down to part-time. There's a lot of things businesses can do to cut their expenses. And their people are going to start doing. They're going to give them less, in their 401k. They're going to do all this kind of stuff. These salary hikes, I think, are really going to hurt people down the road. Amazon's already playing around with it. There's a couple other companies, too, that are already playing around with we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Towards the end, Netflix was looking at their DVD business was going to be completely automated. I mean, obviously now I don't think it's really the DVD business isn't what it was, but a lot of their DVD warehouses were working on robots to cut help. I mean, that's what's going to come down to. Amazon's already working on not using people as much. They're already looking at robots to grab your orders and stuff like that. I mean, this price hike in salaries is going to really affect businesses tremendously in the way they operate, the way they do things, what kind of things they get in the sense of, am I going to use a human or am I going to use a robot? Look at what they're doing with Uber. They're working around with self-driving cars now just to save money. Yes, before a lot of people are saying, well, yeah, but that's upping their expenses because, they used to have people that drove and now they're going to have to buy the cars. And you're right. Is it more of an outlay? Yeah, Uber has to buy the car. And they're going to have the cars drive themselves. Is it more expensive? Yeah, because now they have to buy the car instead of having somebody else do it. But what it's doing for them, it's allowing them to not worry about people falling asleep behind the wheel. It's lowering their insurance. It's doing everything. So they're cutting people out of the equation. Either way, they're doing this to save money. Uber would not be doing this if it wasn't going to save them money. And that's why they're doing it. So, I mean, again, it's another one of those situations where, hey, guess what? We're going to have to, cut expenses somehow, and this is how we're going to do it. So, another thing, too, speaking of people and things happening to them, Dropbox urging users to reset their passwords. So if you have a Dropbox account, I seriously recommend you go and reset your password while you're listening. Especially if you're listening live, you can do it right now while you're watching. Hit the little tab to the right there and type in dropbox.com and go there, and you can see you're still listening while you're doing that. So that's good. So they're forcing a number of users actually to change their passwords after the cloud storage company found some access details linked to an old data breach. So it's not something new, but it's linked to an old data breach. So if you do have a Dropbox account, I strongly recommend you go ahead and change your password. So Facebook apparently is going to start sharing some data with the WhatsApp, which this really isn't huge news because we kind of knew that Facebook was going to start sharing stuff with WhatsApp because WhatsApp is a major thing. So we kind of figured that eventually they were going to do it, but they hadn't done it just yet. But apparently now Facebook is going to start sharing your data now with WhatsApp, which I kind of figured it was going to be. So you buy something for $21 million, eventually you're going to have to figure out a way to make money on it. Again, messaging is something that Facebook's really focused on. And like I said, so they're actually going to start sharing some of your data with the WhatsApp. But I mean, we kind of figured they were going to do it. They share your stuff with Instagram already and stuff like that. So, again, Facebook, they know what they're doing. So Linux turned 25 the other day. So that was pretty neat. It's kind of cool to see Linux be around as long as it is. Remember, as most of you know already, Linux was originally a training app for Unix, training software, and then it became kind of a thing on its own. So I thought that was pretty neat. So something that was supposed to be, just for training now is taking on a life of its own. And what I think is interesting, too, is Linux was supposed to be training software. And now guess what? It's actually become, in my opinion, bigger than Unix, I think. I see a lot more Linux than I do Unix. So PlayStation, we've all know the problem they've had for years and years with security. So PlayStation apparently has going to go with a 2-step verification process. I think it's about time that, especially them, they go with 2-factor authentication with the amount of problems they've had on their network. I remember the PS network, PlayStation network, was down for, I think it was months at one point, with that big data breach. So they're going to 2-step verification now, which is really important. I was actually really glad. I remember a couple years ago when Yahoo went to 2-step verification. I remember so many of my friends that were on Yahoo that were constantly sending me spam. And then they went to 2-step verification. It stopped. But that was something that Yahoo did, and because they were getting so many problems. And now, PlayStation doing it. But I think it's very, very long overdue. So I'm just checking the website. Somebody said that the live stream is not working on the website, which I know it did because I did test it. I've been here for like 3 hours testing all this stuff. If I click watch live, let's see if the show comes up. Let's see if our show comes up. Yep, it doesn't seem to be actually is having an issue with the live stream. So I will have to figure all that out after the show is over. Yeah, so I've been experimenting with the live stream, but I'm not going to lie, it's not it's not exactly foolproof yet. YouTube, it does have some live stream issues that they've been working with. Oh, yep. So I did. So some of the live stream is kind of it's working, but it's not working at the link that's on the website. So we'll figure all that out. It's kind of like I said. It's I'm still kind of working out the bugs. With the like I said with the URL for the live stream. I'm still kind of working out the bugs. Yeah, so it is kind of working. So yeah, for those guys that are going, just go to youtube.com /thetechnologygeek.org and go ahead and click on live and you'll see it there. I have to go ahead and work on that. Like I said, the video stream part is a little more complicated to get working. So I'm still working on it, but yeah, bear with me, folks. We'll get it taken care of. The next week, I can guarantee it'll work on the website. So I'm sorry about that, but we'll get it all taken care of for you. So Google Fiber apparently is going to be cutting a lot of its staff. Apparently, they're saying Google Fiber not as successful as they were hoping it to be, and that's really a shame too, because Google Fiber really is great. I have used it a little bit, and I know that was one of the big things in New York that they were really, really pushing hard, is that they wanted to put Google Fiber in all these different apartment buildings and stuff like that. So it's really cool to actually go ahead and see Google Fiber expand to that. But apparently Google Fiber says they're not doing as well as they would like, so they're going to be laying off some staff. That's rather unfortunate. So along with some other stuff, we're just talking about Windows 10 having problems. But apparently Windows 10 computers are crashing when people are plugging in their Amazon Kindles. It's part of the anniversary update. According to reports Microsoft posted, the anniversary update, every time a user connects their Amazon Paperwhite or Voyage, which I have, by the way. I love that thing. Good thing I don't plug it into my Windows 10 computer, which is my Surface right here. It locks up and requires a reboot. Apparently they're people have been looking around, and apparently there is an issue. Apparently it's related to something with USB. So apparently for the first time since the upgrade, Kindle is So apparently Microsoft's looking into it. They think it might be a USB driver issue. So if you have a Windows 10 computer and you're going to plug in your Kindle, which I don't know why you would. I really have never really plugged in my Kindle I don't really plug my Kindle into my desktop at all, because it does all updates through the air and all that. I'm not sure why people would actually be plugging in their paperwork. Maybe they want to copy over. Maybe they want to copy over some people get free books that are PDFs and they copy them over. That could be why. I don't really do that, but I know there are some people that do. So, oops. So apparently, we're just talking about Uber, and I did have an article I want to talk about. Apparently, Uber says they've lost $1.2 billion the first half of 2016. So apparently, they said they're going to have to look into why they're losing and what they're actually going to do to actually go ahead and make sure that they turn a profit after a big loss like that. So we will see what happens. They've had some shortfalls, in America with certain cities not allowing them. They did have some problems over in other countries and stuff like that. This is like, again, they've lost money again. So it's not like, they've been losing money. So, they said they lost, it tells you roughly what the 520 million, then lost 100 million. So altogether, and then they've lost some other million here or there. So they've lost quite a bit of money. They're one company I don't think I would invest my money into just yet. I would wait just a little bit. They're still kind of finding their footing. I mean, the funny thing is, too, they get a lot of media attention. They get a lot of people talking about them on the internet, news talking about them, blogs, everything. But as much attention as they get, they're just not cutting a profit just yet. They're saying YouTube plans to bring photos, polls, text to the video service. I think they're a little behind on this, actually. YouTube has it. Facebook has it. Facebook, obviously, just getting Facebook Live recently. But in my opinion, I really think that YouTube's a little behind on a lot of this stuff. They've never had photos, they've never had polls, they've never had any of this. So they're a little behind us. So I'm glad to see them kind of get back in the kind of catching up a little bit there. But we all know YouTube is they're saying like one of the number one places that people go for information and content. So they're definitely not hurting, but they definitely playing a little catch up there. Just like Facebook was. Facebook didn't have Facebook Live for how long now? People are really getting on that bandwagon. Surprisingly enough, though, Periscope, as popular as this, really taking a hit to YouTube, surprisingly. They're saying, by the way, folks, too, I just want to point this out. There is an update, by the way, for Windows 10. Apparently, one of the updates that were released this past Tuesday broke PowerShell. So if PowerShell's not working, there is an update for it, and you can fix it. So I do want to point that out because we were just talking about PowerShell. Somebody tweeted me that, so thank you to the person that tweeted me that. See, people are listening to the live show, so I'm really excited. I'm happy about that. Not a ton of people, but enough that I'm getting some feedback. Yeah, let me say about the camera. It is a high def camera, but I think it's only 720. It's not 1080. We might get a new camera for in here. Right now, this is the camera I was normally really using. This camera is me, so we'll probably get another one over time. But right now, it's fine. We do have a 1080p camcorder, but we were using it in the other room, and it's got stuff on it. So for right now, this is fine. Yes, and too, somebody's saying that you can kind of see the edge of the door over here in the yes, I know. We're working on the camera. Like I said, we're working on the camera angles. We haven't gotten all that stuff yet. We're working on it. Over 25 million accounts stolen from mail.ru forums that were hacked. So if you want to have one of those or part of that whole Russian forum thing, go ahead and change your password. So some other stuff, folks. Apple releases an emergency patch after advanced spyware targets human rights activists. So apparently there's a 0-day flaw. So Apple's going to go and release iOS, a new version of or an update to iOS. So update your phones tonight if you haven't. Cisco exploit releases, leaked an NSA hack modifies a target latest version of the firewall. Cisco, I have a feeling, is going to be getting more and more vulnerable. They used to kind of be impervious almost to stuff, but lately they're getting hammered pretty hard, and that's the main reason for that is because, they've laid off a lot of people. It's not as many people programming. It's not as many people working as there used to be. So I think that's part of their problem. So they are working on it. But I think they're going to see Cisco become a bigger and bigger target now. They got less and less employees to work and stuff like that. So, but Cisco not selling the amount of hardware they were, and they're not the only dog in the fight anymore. There's a lot of there's a lot of switch companies, a lot of firewall companies. They're not the only dog in the fight anymore, and their big thing is hardware, and there's a lot of hardware manufacturers out there now. So, that's a big part of it. So I think that's going to go ahead and kind of wrap it up for this week on the Technology Geek. And you can find all of our old episodes on thetechnologygeek.org. Obviously on our YouTube page, youtube.com/thetechnologygeek.org. And Twitter, KB3YOA, my ham radio call sign for all you ham radio guys. And I want to thank everybody for listening. And we will see you next week. Thank you very much.